Why did the French Revolution start? The French were in debt because they funded the American Revolution and the rich didn't have to pay taxes. While they were bankrupt, a hailstorm came and ruined a year's worth of crop, causing food prices to rise and widespread hunger. Enlightened thinkers challenged God's mandate for the king. In response, King Louis XVI called the States General, the closest thing to a parliament that France had, in 1788, which hadn't met since 1614. It was made up of three estates: the first, the clergy; second, the nobles; and third, everyone else. After 6 weeks of gridlock, the third estate was fed up and decided to call themselves the National Assembly and left. When they tried returning to the meeting after the break, King Louis had locked them out, so they held a meeting at an indoor tennis court and recited the tennis court oath, swearing that they would not stop until a new constitution was made. This was a turning point because it started the French Revolution.
King Louis amassed troops in Versailles to arrest the representatives of the Third Estate. However, on July 4, 1789, the common people sieged and attacked the Bastille, a medieval fortress used as a prison. This was the beginning of the revolution. After the nobility compromised their privileges, the Third Estate, along with the king, wrote the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, which limited monarch power, protected land, and made equal law. While this was happening in Versailles, the economic crisis worsened in Paris, where rumors were spread that Marie Antoinette was hoarding grain in her palace in Versailles. Market women who struggled to survive due to food shortages became angry and marched 12 miles to seize the Palace of Versailles. In this, they killed some of the king's guards and kicked out the royal family to Paris. This was the Women of Paris Act.
In 1792, a crowd forced the king out of his palace in Paris, so he sought protection in the Legislative Assembly, who took away his power and imprisoned him. This led to the creation of a new legislative and executive body, the National Convention. The newly elected National Convention, made up of radical Republicans called the Jacobins, executed King Louis by the guillotine on accounts of treason on January 1793, making France a republic. They were soon led by a young lawyer, Maximilien Robespierre, who took control of the French government and killed and imprisoned all of his enemies. Because of rebellions and invasions, he started a period of repression called the Reign of Terror, where he executed 40,000 and imprisoned 300,000. He also made changes to the church and the calendar. However, by spring 1794, most of his affiliates were dead, which led to his execution by the people in July 1794.
With Robespierre gone, a new executive authority called the Directory came into power in 1795, but refused to give up power after losing the election of 1797. This called for a military force, and Napoleon Bonaparte, a young French general, seized power by way of popular authoritarianism. Napoleon, having won the support of the peasantry by writing the Civil Code of 1804, which denied women basic political rights, declared himself Emperor of France in 1804. Then he humiliated Austria and Prussia in war, and they became allies of France. However, after failed attempts of attacking Russia, Spain, Portugal, and England, the countries formed an alliance and banished Napoleon from France twice. The Allies then restored the French monarchy, ending the revolution. The end.
So what did France get out of this revolution? Well, not much. For one, France was restored back to a monarchy. However, the reign was no longer hereditary. What did change was that France now had workers' rights, property rights, and equal law for peasants and nobles alike. Great going, France.